Now I'm going to walk you down the workout roadmap on how to structure your own workout, what's important, what you need to think about, and what you don't. Okay. Here's a brief overview. Now, steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 are going to take about 10 to 15 minutes of the workout total, and then 30 to 45 minutes of actual working out training. But steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 are very important. So these are going to actually help you reduce pain, eliminate injury, and just have an overall more better experience while you're working out. And you don't have to do hours and hours of stretching if you can just really focus on 3 days a week doing 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to walk you through them and how easy they are. Okay. So let's start off with how we are actually structuring the workout. Okay. So let's think about the first thing that we're going to be doing in the workout. It's usually going to be the hardest thing that we're going to be doing in the day. And we want to make sure that we are warmed up and ready for that. So we're going to do a dynamic warm up, just prepare the body for performance. This is going to be doing, focusing on that mind muscle connection through motor learning, engaging those muscles that we want to work and need to engage while we're doing our workout, clean up any weak or painful spots on our body, and then just prepare ourselves mentally and emotionally for what we are about to endure. Overall, just reducing the risk of injury in workouts. We want to think about the KPI, the key performance indicator. So, an example of a barbell back squat that I'm doing and feeling great because I just did my dynamic warm up that I'm going to walk you through. The KPI, key performance indicator, is the biggest or most demanding exercise of the day. And that kind of drives our warm up and what we're going to do to prepare for that day. And then the linchpin focus is sort of what is limiting on our body for that main exercise of the day or the workout, and what's one thing that we can do to try and improve the most amount of things, right? So this is a world's greatest stretch. We'll get into this later, but this movement basically helps with 4 to 5 different parts of your body. It could be one of those pieces of your body in that movement, but it's just helping a lot of other things as well. And for the KPI, right, it's usually going to be like a knee dominant squat, like I'm showing here, or a deadlift, a hinge, or some type of pulling exercise like a bent over row or something of that fashion. Just think like legs and back, right? These are the biggest muscles on our body, and they require more oxygen than any other muscle. So putting these exercises first allows us to get the best form, and form is going to be vital. So we want to transition quickly from our warm up that we are prepping around this movement, so that we are most prepared for probably the hardest workout that is going to be, or the hardest exercise that's going to be a part of this workout. Okay. So let's get into the foam rolling piece. Okay. So foam rolling is going to help with, it's also called self-myofascial release. Your muscles basically spindled up, and this is going to unwind them and not only allow you to be better prepared for the day, but it's going to reduce that soreness that you get after working out and the delayed onset muscle soreness that you get 2 days or 3 days after a workout session. Okay. So think 20 to 30 seconds on each body part that I'm going to show. And we're going to start off with back, like you're seeing. Then switching over to the glutes, propping that leg over just to open up the glutes more on each side. And then we're going to transition into the hamstrings. You can stack your legs on top of each other if you want more weight, more emphasis on that, or you can do one foot on the ground. And I'll show you what I mean when I'm doing the calves, like where I am, stacking that leg over it. It puts more pressure on the calf because my calves are pretty sore. Now we're going to do the front of the legs. So we're going to do the quads. Very important. You can bring that ankle up and it'll, tighten the quad a little bit more and make it more of a sensational feeling. And then we're going to do the sides of the legs, which is our IT band. And then if you really want to get spicy, you can do the lats or any upper body things that you want. But you want to think about, after completing this foam rolling session, we have about an 8-minute window from completing this to get to, if we're using the previous example, the barbell back squat. After we finish this, we have about 8 minutes before we need to get into that movement. So don't be hanging around on your phone. But after the foam rolling, after our muscles are unspindled and loosened, we want to think about the joints and loosening up those different movement patterns. I like starting off with the abs. Okay, so we're going to do a bird dog and just straightening that right arm with the left leg or the left arm with the right leg. Our body works cross sectionally and it's all getting transferred through our abs. So we want to make sure that we are warming up the abs, getting used to engaging and squeezing those, but also getting our mind right that we want to use our full body and it's going to be cross sectional. Then we want to warm up the spine and the hips. So we're going to do a cat cow. So you're breathing in at the top like this and then breathing out and looking up to the sky, and really just trying to get the spine through a full range of motion as much as we can, just to warm it up and sort of loosen it up. And then this is what I was talking about, the world's greatest stretch in the beginning. This does a lot for a lot of things. So it's working your shoulders, hips, hip flexors, hamstrings, calves, T-spine. It's working a lot of things. And again, we're just thinking 45 to 60 seconds on each of these movements. So if done maximally, this is 4 minutes right here. Okay. And then Captain Morgan's is going to be the final one on this. So holding this weight allows you to get a little bit more of a stretch. But as you're coming forward like this, it's stretching that hip flexor in here. And then as you're coming out to the side, it's stretching that adductor. So really kind of loosening up the things that are going to be worked on in the squat, for example. After that 4-minute station, we're going to move and see if we need any more stretching. But really, don't worry, because stretching won't be a lot. Stretching won't be the main emphasis in the beginning. We do a lot of loaded stretching and functional training, so it's training exercises through full range of motion, and that is kind of optimal because functional exercises use weight and full range of motion to get the most bang for your buck on strength and flexibility. So instead of laying here and doing a banded hamstring stretch, we could instead do like a Romanian deadlift or just holding dumbbells in front of you and letting them come down to the floor. And you're going to get probably more range of motion because the weight is pulling you down. And science shows that it's as much or more beneficial because you can gain strength while you're stretching by doing what I'm going to show you. And then the last and final thing is a corrective exercise, right? So we only want to do this. We only want to do one corrective exercise, and it's really focused on fixing one thing that will hopefully improve a lot of other things. So you can see this is a T with like light dumbbells, and that's going to be working on the shoulder health. And then here is another light dumbbell exercise that is going to be working on the rotator cuff. And it's important, especially going back to the squat where your hands are coming back behind the bar. We want to make sure that we have that range of motion in our shoulders so we don't get injured. And so this would be a great thing to do if you have tight shoulders before an upper body workout or before a lower body workout if you're squatting. And you just want to focus on quality reps and then just slow progression over time. Just think like 3 to 6 super high quality reps, maybe 2 sets, but 1 set at least, and just improving the movement pattern and mind muscle connection on what you're trying to fix with every rep. Okay. Now we're going to focus on activation. So we've been moving slow in the warm up, and it's time to lock it in and get that move quick mindset. We're again thinking low reps, high effort. So for upper body, we're thinking maybe med ball slams or med ball presses or rotational med ball slams, quick push-ups, and then lower body doing some jumping jacks or some single leg or double leg glute bridges, just firing the muscles up that we want to be engaged. And then kettlebell swings are a great thing as well if you're doing like a hinge or a deadlift, or honestly upper body too, because they really just get that heart rate jumping and get multiple muscles in your abs ready to go. And it's just a quick thing, could take a minute, maybe less, and getting your body ready to go. The time has come for the workout structure. Okay, so I want to go over the exercises that you want to choose and what you want to think about when you're structuring a workout. Okay, I think about foundational movements. Okay, so maybe you don't do these in every single workout, but over the span of a week, say you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 workouts, you want to make sure you hit each of these movement patterns in that. me personally, I like to try and structure it where if I'm doing 3 full body workouts a week, like my program has, I'm doing one of these in each of them. And then that is the squat and hinge, which I'll get into in a second. The lunge, so think like single leg stuff or just like doing walking lunges. And then push and pull are two separate things, and they have two separate categories in them. So for push, you have a overhead press, a vertical press, and then you have like a push up, a horizontal press. And then pull, you have a horizontal row and then a vertical pull, like a pull up. Okay. And then we have carrying. So we'll get into that a little bit, but carrying is very important as well. As humans are really only good at two things from a very primitive standpoint. It's walking long distances and carrying stuff for long distances, carrying a lot of weight. So let's get into the difference between the squat and the hinge. Squat is more knee dominant, focusing on pulling the hips down. So you're thinking like goblet squats, that barbell back squat that I showed in the beginning. These are working more of the anterior front of your body, and it's a complete different position than if you were to deadlift. You should not be looking like this if you're going to deadlift, okay? This is one of the hardest things to teach clients, and is one of the things that is at the beginning of every training plan that I work with anyone. I want to make sure that they understand the difference between squat and hinge, and they can squat and hinge perfectly, okay, or damn near perfect. And then on the other side, you have like the least risky, which is the trap bar deadlift, and you're working all the way out to like a RDL or good morning, like I was saying. This is a hinge where the slight knee bend, but the butt is pushing far back, whereas in the squat, the butt is coming more down vertical. On the hinge, it's coming out and away, so it's really loading up those glutes, hamstrings, lower back. This one's more loading up still the hamstrings and glutes if you go to a certain level, but it's a lot more focused on the quads. Very important to know the difference between these two and to hit the right muscles and just hit the right form so that you don't get injured. Then we have the lunge, which is the most neglected movement pattern. Okay. Usually, a fun thing that I do when I'm starting with new clients, or even if it's been a while with an old client, I'll be like, they're standing on 2 feet, and I'll be like, which foot do you have most of your weight on? Even if you stood up right now and stood for a couple seconds and paused this video, and or even just walked up to a friend or the next random person and be like, you're standing there. Which weight is most of your weight on? Which foot is most of your weight on? It's going to be on one or the other. We have imbalances. We favor one side of our body more than the other, even if you don't think about it. And so, functional training, instead of doing a leg extension, a hamstring curl, or a one leg press on a leg press, this is what you should be doing. Okay. This is the most neglected movement pattern, and it's one of the most important. It's fixing those imbalances. So, level one, this is the beginner one. We have the split squat. 2 points of contact. Both of our feet are on the ground the entire time, and it's giving that balance and coordination to start off with. Just getting used to our knees getting a little shaky and our abs getting engaged. And then we're going to move on to the intermediate exercise, which is the reverse lunge. We're going 2 points to 1 point, and then back to 2 points, and then back to 1 point. This one also very important, and this is kind of like that next step up from having both feet planted at the same time. And then we have a single leg Romanian deadlift, or RDL for short. And that is 1 foot, 1 point of contact throughout pretty much the whole time that we're working. So the working is when that second leg is leaving the floor. And this is going to be the most, troubling, or it's going to be the hardest one for balance and coordination. But over time, keep training this and it will go away, and you'll be a lot more balanced instead of having imbalances, which is what a lot of these isolated bodybuilding movements are continuing to give you. Now, let's get into the push and pull section. But I want to talk about if you have shoulder pain, especially with honestly every human that I've dealt with, they, for the most part, have shoulder pain because a lot of the times as humans, we are focused in the frontal plane, like whatever's in front of us. It's a lot of pushing and we don't do a lot of pulling. So you want to think about, for every push-up exercise that you do, you want to think about 3 horizontal pulling exercises. So like think 3 different type of seated rows for every one push-up section if you have pain in your shoulders, because as we keep pushing, right, our shoulders come forward because our chest gets tight and it's pulling our shoulders forward. So these pulling exercises are going to reduce or counteract that and keep our shoulders back and stable where we want them. That's the kind of the idea. And since we're pushing so much, we need to overemphasize pulling to try and reset our shoulders. So if you have that forward shoulder lean, then you need to do a lot more pulling of the upper back to try and counteract that. Now, with vertical overhead press, you want to think about for every one of those doing 2 vertical pull downs, like a lat pull down or a pull up. And that's going to, again, get you those pain free shoulders. Now, onto carrying, right? I said that humans are good at 2 things from a, like Neanderthal aspect or like caveman aspect. We are good at walking long distances and carrying stuff for long distances. So the idea here is building up over time, right? So if you're coming out of rehab, like from an injury, or you just haven't done a lot of carrying in your time on this earth, a good place to start would be carrying half your body weight, and that's breaking that up into 2 different hands. So it'd be a fourth of your body weight in each hand. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you'd have half your body weight would be 100, so you'd have 50 pounds in each hand. Then general fitness. So if you've done some carrying in the past or you work out consistently, carrying your body weight for 30 seconds. Okay. So if you weigh 200 pounds, that would be carrying 200 pounds, but not in each hand. That'd be 100 in one hand, 100 in the other. Think about that for 30 seconds. And then you have the elite level of fitness. This is stuff that I was doing in Division I athletics, carrying twice your body weight. So if I weigh 200 pounds, I'm carrying 400 pounds. That means 200 pounds in each hand for 30 seconds. Sounds crazy, but at that level of fitness, it's kind of expected because you're, training your body to over time. Well, let me sum it up this way. Starting with rehab, you kind of just want to make the lightweight feel heavy by going slow and feeling the contractions in the muscles working. And then over time, that'll get easier. And that heavy weight will feel light. And so just taking your time, focusing on form. These are the things, the foundational movements that I think should be in every single training program every single week. They're in my training program done for you like this, and they contain the squat hinges and the lunges and pain-free shoulders and the carries, and all of these things are going to end up giving you the best body for your longevity and your health. And if you're missing out on any one of these movement patterns, then you have an imbalance, and over time muscles are going to get overused to try and counteract that, and that's where you get overuse injuries. So it's important that you take this stuff seriously and really break down your training program so that it's covering all your bases for the long term and the short term. Stop doing isolated bodybuilding movements and really focus on functional strength training